welcome back to the channel. I have a great talk today, as we always do. We bring in the best experts in different kind of fields to just have chats and conversations about different things. And today we're going to be talking about frequency, vibration, frequency, what it is, what it's not, all the big stuff. So let me introduce you. Our expert and friend today is Margie Florimbio, which I probably completely butchered that. So I am going to tell her to correct me later. So Margie is an intuitive healer. She's a Reiki master and master instructor who teaches and lectures on all things metaphysical, which of course we love, in the DC and metropolitan area, and has been a guest on many other metaphysical podcasts as well. So like I said, today we're going to be speaking about frequency and their vibrations and why it's so important to our spiritual practice. So Margie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
How did you fall into the metaphysical world? And I mean, to the point that we're speaking vibrations today.
Yeah, quite frankly, I was a huge skeptic when I began. I come from a very Italian background, and therapy is not necessarily embraced, and we don't always talk about our emotions and that huggy-feely stuff. But I knew that I was going to change these generational issues that have been passed down in my lineage. So in order to do that, I also knew that I had to kind of push my skeptic obnoxious side to the side and say, you know what, I have to just be open-minded, and whatever works, I will try anything once. And if I can honestly say it changed, or I understood something more, or it helped me heal, that I would keep it. And very early on, I was a very avid book reader. I read books. I like facts. I like figures. I'm a type A personality. And I would go to my metaphysical store and I would make a beeline to the books. And then one of the women that worked there gave me a crystal. And I was like, I don't do the rocks. I don't do the rocks. I am a book girl. I read. But she's like, just take it. I'm not going to even charge you. And it was a beautiful gift. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this logically. It is a scientific experiment. And I told everyone I know, I'm going to put this boob rock in my bra, and she's telling me it's supposed to help me. I don't know how, it's just a silly rock, but I want everyone to take kind of an experimental a session of what I am changing, or if I am changing. And I was a huge skeptic. I'm like, it's just a rock, but it takes 30 days to make or break a habit. So I did it for 30 days. And I slowly found that my children, my husband, they were saying, you don't have that rock in, do you? And I was like, no, I don't. And the rock she gave me was lepidolite, which actually has shards of lithium in it, which is really good for anxiety. So it was healing me. And then I was like, what? It's a rock. Why does it work? Why? And so then I started to go down that rabbit hole. And then I really embraced the whole energy of frequency. Once you really start studying a lot of these, homeopathic healings, be it essential oils, crystals, Reiki. I am now a Reiki master and a master instructor. It all has to do with frequency and energy, and they are all correlated. And what the crystal is, and as well as essential oils, they're kind of a cheat or a hack, how you say it, for actually raising the personal vibration or frequency of us. And a good Reiki master goes in there, cleans it up, raises the vibrational frequency. That's why a Reiki treatment helps, and you feel so much better after you get off the table. So it's all correlated, and it is not hocus pocus. It is based on science and Chinese medicine. Acupuncture is based around it. It's the same meridian points. So yeah, it's knee deep in more established Chinese energy work.
Right. Okay, I love that you stuck a rock on your boobs. When you didn't use it, people notice, because that's the thing. And like you said, coming from a skeptic point of view, even with them not knowing if you had it or hadn't, they felt it, they saw how you changed. And I think that's the best experiment. Like you just said, I think that's the best experiment anybody could ever do, because until we don't live through something, we really don't know how to explain it or feel it. And I love that you just ended with it's the same thing as a meridian and the Chinese and, like that kind of medicine. People that are coming new into vibrations and frequency codes and all of this, they do think it's hocus pocus.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are able to correlate it like that to proof, scientific proof, whether you believe in alternative medicine or Western medicine or whatever kind you want to believe, once you start noticing, oh, this is the same thing as this, and it's
Mm-hmm.
easier for them to kind of flow into oh, okay, I understand what it means.
Absolutely. And, this is not new. I believe Tesla, his quote, which, Albert Einstein stole a lot of his inventions. And one of his first famous quotes was, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So this is not new. It's just new to some people.
Right.
The deep thinkers really understood that you can change your life by changing your frequency. You will understand your life and your reality by understanding your frequency.
Right. And talking about quotes, many people also say, change your thoughts, change your reality, change your thoughts, change your world. What they don't realize is our thoughts create a frequency. So It's like they just stay at the mental level of, I just need to change my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason we're changing our thoughts is because it has an impact on the frequency that we live in and on the frequency that we give out, because what we give out is what we are internally always at.
100%. And it helps too. Most people are like, oh, well, that's not based in reality and you're living the world very Pollyanna. Well, no, it does, because if you practice an attitude of gratitude, you find more things to be grateful for. If you practice an attitude of negativity, the universe, it's like a genie. It speaks in frequency. It speaks in math. And so it says, oh, she likes being miserable. Let's give her more misery. So when you say these things like, I'm having the worst day of my life, I'm having the worst day of my life. Well, it could just be the worst morning of your life. Yeah. Change your verbiage. Spelling is actually casting a spell with your words. The ancients knew this. This is not new energy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. So let's talk, now that we established frequency, explain to us frequency codes. Let's start there.
Explain, I'm sorry?
Frequency codes.
Oh, codes. Yeah. Well, okay. Energy vibrates at a certain frequency. The law of vibration activates the law of attraction. And there's all kinds of different charts that you can look on the internet. Lots of people have made up the frequency of the emotional codes. Each of your chakras have an emotional code. A crystal has an emotional frequency. The scientific people out there literally pull it down to the hertz frequency. When I am training people to learn how to work with Reiki energy, you have to be working at 500 hertz, which is also the frequency of love. Mm-hmm. Also, right above 500 hertz, around 515 is the frequency of abundance. And so people naturally assume, well, I fell in love with my partner and all of a sudden my life shifted and I got this new job and I got this and I got a new apartment and it's all because of my partner. No. Don't give them, I'm not saying that they're not good, but it's because of your frequency. Right. It is because of your frequency. And the same holds true, because a hop, skip, and a jump from that love is abundance. And the same holds true where we can be around negative frequency people, or maybe something traumatic happens in your life. For example, shame. If you live with a lot of internal trauma, God forbid you're sexually abused, shame has a frequency of 20 hertz. And then you wonder why you can't get up to that abundance level. And this is also why generational poverty is handed down in the lineage, because people don't understand how the frequency will literally change your entire bloodline.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different kind of modalities for generational work. And actually, I've been working on that this week with different people. But here's the kicker. So yes, just like we get their poverty mindset or their trauma or their thing from our ancestors that maybe we don't even know. Maybe it's our great, 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 great grandparents. With one client that I was talking to, we actually turned it around to ignite one of the things because the grandfather actually was very prosperous and abundant. And what we were working on was scarcity. So we're like, okay, when we do generational work, it doesn't always have to be, let's eliminate, it's all bad, it's all bad. No, we have to thank our ancestors are well and the way we thank them. So since time doesn't exist and all there is frequency, all there is energy, we can actually connect to that energy and activate that code is the way I see it. Activate that code within ourselves because it's already in our DNA. And it's 100%. Not only in our DNA human wise, it's in our DNA just because of who and what we are, which is energy and frequency, soul, spirit, whatever we want to call it. We are that.
100%. Wise words. I teach my students all the time when you go knee deep into the Reiki process and getting attuned to actually be a Reiki practitioner, you will see that just like diabetes and negative aspects, quote unquote, can be passed down, so can the positive aspects. Study the people in the lineage that had it and study why there was a disconnect. I have done that with a lot of my bloodline lineage. And also too, I'm not one, I like to use the terminology emotional code, because as much as we refer to these charts and these graphs, I don't think that we should judge the emotion because anger is actually a defense mechanism. It's when your boundaries have been violated. It's when, so it's not necessarily a bad emotion, but what it is a coding system. Don't go towards that. Go away from that person because they're making you go vibrate lower. So go towards this. And if it can't be resolved, really, you might need to disconnect or take some space or take some time. It's a coding system. And I think too often, especially in the United States, we judge the emotion instead of sitting with it, analyzing it. Why? Why am I having this emotion? Why am I feeling this way? And digging a little deeper. We just want to judge it and say it's a negative emotion. Get it out of here. I have to change my mindset. That's not necessarily going to help. You got to go a little deeper to really release it.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just in the United States. I mean, I'm originally Colombian and I know people from everywhere. And I think we've all been conditioned, trained, taught that anger is a bad thing. You're not supposed to get angry. You're not supposed, but it's true. Our emotions, our feelings are what's physically showing us what's really happening. If we're angry, then okay, let's face it. Don't be angry the rest of your life, but don't repress it either. Face it. And again, talking energy. If for some reason something pisses me off and I get anger and blah, 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 and I sit with it and I come to me, why did that anger me? Then I can deal with it. But if I repress it, and like you said, it has such a low energy vibe, by me trying not to think about it and repressing it, I'm lowering my own vibe.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Wise words.
Well, thank you. Okay, so what else? So I love that you call that emotional code. So what else can we do, or how can we download frequency codes into ourselves?
Well, again, the biggest thing that we need to understand is going within. We as a society, a kid falls off the swing and what's the first thing we say? You're okay, don't cry, don't cry. And we haven't even asked the kid what happened. Maybe it was the best ride of their life. Maybe they want to do it again. Maybe you got a daredevil kid. We are not comfortable with our emotions. And just saying, I'm going to have a good day, I'm going to have a good day, I'm going to have a good day. Yes, that will help you on the surface level. But you have to go a little deeper. We have to look at the inner child wounds. We have to look at the shadow self to release some of this. We have to look at the bloodline, the lineage, things that have been, poverty, abundance will be, passed down or not passed down. Same with codependency, same with narcissism. That's all passed down. And we have to take an honest evaluation of where our frequency is, when we're dipping, why we're dipping, understand our reactions and change those reactions. It's more than just saying those affirmations like a Saturday Night Live skit. It's way deeper than that.
I love that because it's true. Sometimes we'll just repeat it, but feel nothing.
Yeah.
Feel nothing. There's no point of doing an affirmation if in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, well, that's BS.
Yeah. Yeah. And the key to actually activating the law of attraction, which is what we're really trying to do. We want those goodies. We want the yumminess, the nuggets that the universe wants to deliver unto us. But the key to doing it, which most people don't understand, is visualization and connecting it to the heart chakra. When I teach vision board classes, I say to all of my students, don't make this board if you're not going to use it, because it is a visualization tool. It is not just putting pretty pictures on a board. You need to have an emotional connection to that. Feel how it would feel to have that money. Feel and embrace how it would feel. What does that car smell like? Get into the frequency of it. That's when you're getting into the frequency of abundance, of the mindset.
Right, right. And years ago, I mean, I won't say the name of the movie, but probably many of us already know, when they taught about the law of attraction, a lot of complaints of people came about it because it was all like mental. I love the documentary. I thought it was amazingly done. The people, I mean, this was what, 10, 15 years ago, probably even more. But it's that feeling part. It's what you just said. It's great for visualization. It's great for a mental view of what you want, but it can't stay in the head. And that's what I want to get to. Unfortunately, many of us live from our head up, and we're totally disconnected from the rest of our body. We are complete and whole by you telling your students to feel it already activates not only the frequency, not only the energy, not only that, but it connects them to them. There are so many people that are just in their head, completely in their head.
Yeah,
and that's a very horrible frequency as well.
With blinders on, and they don't even, they're just in so deep in survival mode. I got to make the paycheck, to make the rent, to make the food on the table. Like, it's just survival mode that they don't really go within and look and say, I'm just existing. I'm not living. I'm just surviving. I'm not thriving. You know, they don't get that correlation.
Right. And I'm going to be 100% transparent because this is exactly what I want the show to be about. I am not, how do you say it? I'm not, okay. The shit happens to me too. I was trying to say something else. I just couldn't bring the word. With everything I know, with everything I teach, with all the people I've been able to help, I'm human and it happens. So the reason I'm saying that is because I'm the first one to say I'm caught in my head. What's awesome about it is that by now I have practiced it so much that when I catch myself spiraling, there are times I'm able to stop before I spiral completely down. And there are times that I spiral completely down, but then it's coming back to center. And I think that's something else that more people need to remember. It's not learning a technique. It's not going and doing this. It's finding what feels good for you to come back to center so that you can regain your energy again and then rise if you've lowered it. Would you agree?
100%. I truly believe if you really understand and delve deep into these frequency codes, you are really connecting to your own self-love. It'll teach you to put up boundaries. It'll teach you you deserve more. It'll teach you I mean, all too often we stay stuck in situations that are not for our highest good, but they're safe. We stay in jobs for far too long. We stay in relationships for far too long, but they're safe and we know what we have. And they're, people resist change. And these frequency codes help you really connect what it's doing to self-love, source energy. It's helping you say, I deserve more. I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve a better job. I deserve abundance. Abundance is my birthright. It helps you understand that you are worthy. It is a healing within a healing.
Yeah. And I think the healing never stops. There will never be a point that it'll stop, because if we don't have adversity, we don't have challenge, we don't have growth. Yeah. So, but there's also a difference between, are you growing into adversity through adversity? Or are you having adversity because you're suffering and you don't want to take off the blinders?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people also go into a egocentric kind of, oh no, this is just the way it works for me. And Yeah.
I often like the whole method of not why is this happening to me, but what is this teaching me? What am I so stubborn that I am not learning? Why does this keep repeating? Why do I keep getting into this frequency? That's where my head goes now. And then once you learn the lesson, you get out of that frequency and it doesn't repeat. I used to attract in my younger self a lot of narcissistic personalities. As an empath, we often do, but I had to realize that some of that was my fault because there was a lack of self-love and I was accepting less than what I deserved. And once I healed that and realized that, you step your own vibration up and you attract from a higher frequency. So you're attracting people that are genuine, that are trustworthy, that do really want the best for you.
Right. And again, that's stepping into frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is frequency. Everything is frequency.
Yep.
So going back to the rocks and the crystals and the whole thing. So of course I have mine.
Love it. I have mine here too. Oh
but
my goodness.
The one I'm going to show you, which is going to make its debut because nobody has ever seen it except like my inner circle. It's actually, and this is the reason I'm showing it, to see what you tell me about it. And then I'll tell you my part. It's actually a Lemurian wand. So I am this is who I am, blah, blah, blah. I have tarot cards. I have like all my stuff. When I learned it years ago, when I was a teenager, everybody was like, you can't let people touch your stuff because of their energy. I don't see that anymore at all myself. So I really don't care. This is our office. Whoever comes in and touches it, it's because they need it. I mean, this is rose quartz. If they're questioned to it, it's because they're going to go for it. But my wand is different. So now that I'm showing it to you, Lemurian crystal wand, what can we talk about frequencies in this kind of sense?
Well, every crystal has a vibrational energy and some are higher than others. You will notice if you start working with crystals, I'm actually a certified crystal Reiki practitioner, and I certify other people in it too. So I've been working with crystals for years now. And full disclosure, when I started working with them, I didn't feel bupkis. I felt nothing. It was just a rock. But they were still working with me, like I said earlier in this interview. And I use some on my clients, but I will say, just like you, I always clean them after. Because they're healing tools and they need to be cleaned properly. I don't want that frequency going on to my next client that's going to be on the table. And I do have a select few that are my personals that I don't let my clients use unless the universe says, no, they really need to go upstairs and get your personal buddy. But that's very far and few between. But yeah, they all hold their own frequency. And what they do is it is a cheat. For example, with my students, every Reiki one, I demo an Orthosierras, which is a beautiful 400-year-old fossil, and it's like Reiki in a stick. And I tell them, put it right on the client. It'll cut your clearing time in half. Like, it does the work for you. They're beautiful energy. And if you can connect your Reiki symbols with that Orthosierras, it's magic. I sleep with one. I have it on my ring. It's one of my favorite crystals because it's just pure Reiki healing energy. Now, as you move along in the progression, some of those lower frequency quartzes and things, I love me some rose quartz. I got it all over my house. But I don't feel that zing going up my hand because it's a lower frequency now. And I've been working with such high frequency vibrational crystals. Beyond that, you have to be careful. I know, like, for example, moldavite is a very high frequency crystal, and it's all over TikTok now, and all the kids are like, yay, I love me some moldavite. Moldavite is a hard crystal. When I used to work in the crystal stores for many years, we would say, wear it on your person for an hour and take it off your person for an hour because it'll give you brain fogs. It is an instant frequency boost. And that can be jarring for people. It can give you headaches. It can really change the energy of the room. So it's not an easy crystal to handle. I don't necessarily like all these TikTokers saying, get moldavite. What it does is it forces you go towards your highest good at all costs. And most people aren't prepared for that. If you're in a job that's not for your highest good, guess what? You're going to get fired. If you're in a relationship that's not for your highest good and you're wearing moldavite 24/7, guess what? Like, things will fall. It is like the Tower card in Tarot. It is breaking it down to rebuild you into the person, the spirit, the consciousness the universe needs you to be, not who you need you to be. So there are some crystals that have some heavy kind of energy that a lot of people aren't used to. And in my crystal practice, I have to gauge the frequency of the client on the table because I don't want to overwhelm the body.
Right. So that's actually what I'm thinking. So do you teach, because I know you work with your clients with that, but do you teach on the crystals and the frequency? Because I didn't know that about the moldavite.
Yeah, I teach, I certify people to become crystal healers. And I also teach crystal Reiki, and I am a stone medicine practitioner. So what that means is I have studied with people that actually do acupuncture, but instead of using needles, they can do some of the same kind of situations with crystals and herbs.
Nice. No, and that's beautiful. And the reason I'm asking is because, again, thankfully nowadays we can go into any bookstore and find any kind of books on either metaphysical, crystals, Reiki, blah, blah, blah. But it's having all that knowledge of, for example, knowing such kind of person with such kind of energy, this kind of rock won't be as beneficial as this one. There's a difference between theory and knowing, kind of like what the book says, versus really connecting again to the frequency of who that person is. Because like you just said, well, I think it's great that you do things for the highest good. Yeah, people, me included, we're not always ready when we get the kick in the butt and we're shoved out the door to a change that we did not expect. Later, we see that it was for highest good, but at the moment, it's kind of like a, let's do it nice and slow. Take action. Right. Take action. I don't need the 2x4 in my head anymore because I've received quite a few of them. And that's how I learned, quite honestly. Yeah. That's absolutely beautiful. So my Lemurian wand, obviously I have crystals and everything and, like the whole shebang, like we all do. But this one, like I said, I don't let anybody touch it, don't let anything to it. But I feel such, I don't even want to say energy. It's such pure consciousness that I just connect to it, and it automatically just transports me to a trance of, I remember who I am. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. We, in my mind, and I want to ask you for your opinion, we need to find what works for us, frequency-wise, not only modality-wise. How would you help somebody, for example, with the crystals, the stones, or with anything? How would you help them understand if, let's say, for example, that is best for them or not? What are the things they need to look for?
Well, I teach all my crystal students that are getting certified. It is this stone will help for most, but it is not for all. You really have to assess the client's energy. You need to know your energy. Before I really knew crystals, someone recommended that I put in amethyst. And on a lot of the books and a lot of these TikToks, they emphasize amethyst for sleep issues. Well, guess what? It is a crown chakra stone. I am clairvoyant. So as soon as I put it next to my bed, I had wag biscuit dreams, visitation dreams, premonitional dreams, and it kept me up all night. So it doesn't always work for all. Some of it is touch and feel. And if you don't get that kind of vibration up your arm, once you get connected to crystals, you will feel that connection. You will have that energy, like you said, with your Lemurian. It's mine. It's mine.
Right.
But when I was new to it, I didn't. And I trusted the advice of other people in wise metaphysical stores or Reiki healers, Reiki masters. But some of it is kind of trial and error, unfortunately. The best thing to do is really go to a wise stone healer or Reiki crystal healer that can really feel your vibration and say, you're not ready for this, try this one. I mean, when people are on my table, I have a whole huge thing that is filled with cups and cups of crystals, and they usually leave with one or two. I'm like, girl, I worked way too long on your solar plex. Take this crystal and put it next to your bed. And you change the frequency that way. But it is kind of trial and error, and don't be, negative if you don't feel anything. Like I said, I didn't feel anything when I started working with them, zero, but they do connect you. And there are certain ones, just like your Lemurian, that I'm like, I have a big, huge piece of hemimorphite. It's a chunk and it's beautiful. And I call it my lover. I sleep with it every night. I'm married for 20 some odd years, but that's my lover. I sleep with him every night. You get very connected to certain ones.
Yeah, no, completely. And it's funny because I have a whole bunch. And that's what I got.
You okay?
I'm the one that choked.
Yeah.
I was about to say I never remember their names. Oh, okay. So we all have different things. I can work with crystals, and I know some of them. I don't know all of them. And for as much as I try to remember, it won't stay. So I know I can work with them, but don't ask me for what does this do, because I have no idea. But what I do is that I connect to the crystal at that moment, and I literally receive whatever intuition, guidance, advice it wants to offer at the moment. And sometimes I just receive their energy, and that's it, and I'm done with it.
Yeah, when I used to work at the crystal stores, we had tubs and tubs of crystals with all the things that the crystals could do. And people would get so knee deep into reading the cards. And I would say, stop, put down the cards. Just go to the crystal that you're drawn to, whether it reminds you of your kid's eyes, whether it's your favorite color, whatever. The crystals choose you, whether you realize it or not, because they're here to help. And they're like, hey, pick me. And for whatever reason, and then I was like, and then read the card. And then they'd read the card and they're like, holy guacamole, this is exactly what I needed. They know. You don't have to know.
Right. And that's why I wanted to say it, because a lot of people, and like these girls that you're saying on TikTok, and I don't do TikTok, so I have no idea, but I can totally picture it. A lot of people that are coming new, let's just put it that way. And maybe they found that this for them did this, and they want to share it with other people. Perfect. But it's just like when I tell people learning how to meditate is awesome. But you do have to go in slowly, because we are all psychic, whether we want to believe it or not. We all can pick up frequency. Some of us can do it faster than others, and that's fine. But when you start working on these things and actually opening up to the gifts that we are and that we have, that maybe just have been dormant, a lot of different and radical things can happen. And I think that's the point where frequency comes in. We need to learn our own frequency and manage our frequency first. Mm-hmm. Before relying even on a stone, on a rock, on a wand, even the trees. Mm-hmm. For me, the trees, I mean, I'm going to sound like the biggest tree hugger there is, but the trees are spiritual beings. They are consciousness. How many of us actually admire a tree for its individuality and essence versus, oh, it's an oak tree?
Yeah, and they have a frequency as well. They 100% have a frequency. There is healing, energetic, electrical magnetized energy that comes off of a tree that will really instantly ground you and help you kind of center yourself. So yeah, we are so quick to discount all these things that the ancients knew and understood and gave honor to, you know?
Yeah.
Sad, just sad.
Yeah, but what's great is that it's all coming back. And again, one of the purposes of the show is that for all of us to talk about all these things, because we were taught that the ancients were, you know, cavemen, to put it that way. No, they had so much more knowledge about us, about our being, about where we come from, about the earth that we live in. Mm-hmm. And we think we're so civilized, and yet we're the ones dying earlier of diseases that didn't exist back then because we created them.
Yep, 100%. And it goes to frequency. There's so much fear, the frequency of fear pushed out in the media, in our world. You ask someone how they're doing and they'll tell you, oh, I'm having the worst day, my knee hurts, my back. It's fear over fear over fear. And that wasn't the way it was, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. However, why are there pyramids in multiple civilizations? And, you know, that's not a coincidence. And why are they aligned perfectly with the stars? That's not a coincidence. How did these things appear? How did these things get created? We still don't know how the pyramids in Egypt and, you know, all these beautiful temples got their origins, you know? Yeah. They are way wiser than what we give them credit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just being there at the pyramids, the frequency that they give off and the energy that surrounds them. I can't think of any other word except unreal. Like when you are able to connect to them and feel the, you know, the presence of this one and the presence of that one, again, it activates and reminds you who you are because you're connecting.
Yeah. And we don't often understand that. Understanding, you spoke earlier about understanding your own personal frequency. That is honestly the biggest gift of going down all these rabbit holes. It has taught me, like, I know when I have repeating clients, I know my personal vibration. I know that I have a weak sacral chakra due to trauma. And so that's where I always need kind of regenerating. But if I'm doing a client that has had sexual abuse, guess what? I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to eat foods that are going to help me trick my frequency. I'm going to put stones that are in my pockets that are going to help me trick my frequency so that I can clear her issues without depleting my energy in my sacral. It helps you manipulate the frequency. And I can say, once I understood frequency, things started manifesting in my life way quicker, way easier, way faster, and without as much of that resistance, without as much of the negative aspects. You know, I often say with my Reiki ones, I make them watch Monsters, Inc. as a prerequisite because it's talking about they're manifesting through fear and they realize that love is the highest frequency. And so it shifts the frequency and they get all the energy. They work in an energy factory. Right. And we have a whole discussion about why this is pertinent to energy workers. I wish more people understood that if you can release all the fear that is barraged, you know, pushed upon us, it really changes the frequency of not just us, but pebble in the pond theory. Fix yourself, right. It vibrates out, it vibrates out, it vibrates out. That's how we change the collective.
Right. And that's actually the shift that we're in. That's how I see it. As more and more people are raising their own vibration, we are shining more light and our energy expands way farther than the people that are dimmed and their energy is nice and tight and stuck in their heads. And I think that's exactly the shift that we all came to be a part of, because whatever, completely different conversation for another day. But that's the transition that we're in now. We're at the very beginning of this cycle. So it's kind of like and I tell everybody, if one person sees a show or if 300 people see the show, it's just the person that's supposed to see it, if they get something from it, that's all I want. Because one person that lights up is doing so much work than they even realize. And they don't have to be energy healers and do this for fun or for work or anything. It's for them and for their own sake, for their own families, for their own health.
Yeah, like I started doing this for my own healing. And then once I started to heal myself, then I got certified in energy healing and all these other things. But I wanted to change the frequency of me. And I didn't even know frequency back then. But it literally has been the basis of my entire spiritual practice. Frequency is everything. It's why you use those essential oils. It's why you use the crystals. It's why you eat the way you do. It's why it's so important to eat organic versus the pesticides. It changes the frequency of the food. Everything will change the frequency of the vibrations around you, be it good or bad. And now that I know that, I'm going to try and go higher, because life is still life. I'm still going to get a flat tire. I'm still going to have, whatever happens, happen.
Right. Yeah. And it's being able to come and approach life and be like, okay, but like I said before, we regain our center, we're doing good, and then we continue, but not letting life happen and us shrink again and then just never rise. And I think that's where people give up hope, and they think this is all hocus pocus, but once you start feeling it and actually noticing the difference, how you feel in your own body motivates you to do more. It's just like exercise. Nobody in their willing mind that hasn't exercised in a while wants to jump up and go to the gym or go for a run, because it's a habit you have to get into. But once your body is so used to it and it feels so good, you crave it, because we're meant to feel good in all areas of our life.
Yeah, 100%. It's the frequency. You're attracting from a higher frequency. The universe wants us to be in that higher vibration, and there was something to be said about the 60s hippies that were like, get the right vibe, man. Kind of the basis of that. They had something there,
Yeah, not all the loonies are crazies.
Yeah, exactly.
No. And it's funny because I started over 20 years ago with all of this. And back then you couldn't really talk about some of these stuff because people would look at you like you're absolutely insane. Now they just look at you as in, oh, you drank from the Kool-Aid and I'm a skeptic, like whatever. But the more and more people are talking about it, the more aware other people are becoming. So it's kind of like I don't think the hippies were that far gone either. They were just the first wave. Like they were really the ones opening the door to, there's something here more than just war.
Yeah. When I was doing Reiki and getting Reiki treatments, people are like, what are you doing? You're getting raked? No one had heard of it. And beyond that, I still am in touch with, the crystal shops that I used to teach at. I still sometimes go back there and teach and stuff, and the ones that I used to work at. And I talk to the owners, and they have told me that even over quarantine, their sales quadrupled because people kind of panicked in that quarantine phase, and they realized there's got to be more. There's got to be more. So people are literally, you can pull out the numbers of metaphysical stores. They're awakening in droves. Yeah. So we aren't the weirdos anymore. This is more.
I got used to it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I've been called worse by better. So
I know it's like weirdo, the black sheep, the whatever.
Witch, I got a witch a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not any issues with that, but no, I'm not a witch.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I have no issues with being called the witch. For me, it's like, oh yay! It's like a badge.
Yeah. Maybe I was in a past life, but whatever. I have no problem with it. Whatever. I've been called worse by better.
Well, honey, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. I really wanted to talk to you about this because I think it's something so easy, and yet people overcomplicate it so much.
Yeah.
And they overthink it so much that I just wanted, and you did perfect. Bring it to the basics of this is all that it is. I mean, it's something that we can all do. And I'm so appreciative that you came and you talked to us today about this.
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm so appreciative of this opportunity. It's fun. It's always good talking to you. And I can't wait. Anytime you need help, happy to help.
Thank you, honey. So for people that want to reach out to you, tell me how they can get in touch with you.
I have a Facebook group that is called Love and Light 333. It is a closed Facebook group. I am very protective of the energy.
Of course.
But on there, I do give some Zoom classes, some in-person classes in the metropolitan area. I always talk about and advertise when I'm on podcasts and things like that. I'll obviously give the heads up when this airs, things of that nature. And I also give freebies away all the time. I am a numerologist. Every year I do a numerology scope. So yeah, it's just a good supportive group for us weirdos out there.
Yay! Weirdos unite.
Exactly.
Well, perfect, honey. I'm gonna be making sure I can't talk now to actually write it out in the comments and the descriptions and everywhere else I post this. But again, thank you so much, and I will be talking to you soon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been. And thank you everybody for watching, and we will be together again, and we will bring about another beautiful conversation, because this is what we're here for. Everybody share the knowledge so that we can all grow and unite. Thank you, everybody. If you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. Bye.
Many blessings.